Hello again. I am back with another viral recipe rating video, and today we are testing rice cooker recipes. I feel like I've been seeing a lot of these rice cooker recipes on the internet lately. Honestly, I love, because as somebody who uses the rice cooker a lot at home, it has saved me much time. And let me tell you, the rice cooker can do so much more beyond rice. So that's what we're gonna explore today. The full potential of your favorite rice cooker. Once again, I've curated a list of recipes that I think would be interesting or useful for us, maybe some weird ones as well. I will preface this by saying though, every rice cooker does behave a little bit differently, but everything you see will be doable. You just might have to tweak the cooking time a little bit. And with that said, let's get cooking.
So this first one is one that I've seen many people do. It is a Hainanese chicken rice hack. It's a shortcut way to recreate one of the most beloved dishes in Southeast Asia, especially in Singapore. And it is essentially a one-pot version of it, where we're just throwing everything into the rice cooker and just letting all of that cook together. I added a little bit of turmeric just for the color, but totally optional. The traditional way of making it is a lot more complicated and it takes a lot more time. But for this rice cooker recipe, you'll see a lot of those same elements. So a lot of aromatics, the garlic, ginger, the scallions. For this rice cooker, I just used the basic white rice cooking setting. So I think this actually cooked for about half an hour. And on the side, I'm also just making some fresh ginger scallion oil. Probably the only thing you can make in a rice cooker, but super easy and quick to whip up, which we love. And everything is actually perfectly cooked. There's a good bit of color on the rice, on the chicken. I really wanted to use skin on and bone in for extra flavor, a little bit of fat. And I don't know if you can tell, but the chicken is super tender at this point. It just kind of very easily falls apart when I cut into it. I'm just trying to slice it up into bite-sized pieces. Pour the ginger scallion oil on top with a little bit of chili sauce too, the cucumbers, and this looks so legit.
I have to say, this one looks pretty incredible. Smells pretty incredible too. Scallion, ginger, garlic, all these aromatics, how can it not smell amazing? I will say this is also one of the ones I was looking forward to the most because I love Hainan chicken rice. It's probably one of my favorite rice dishes ever. And I know we're missing a sauce or two, but look, if it even brings me 50% of the joy it usually gives me, I'm happy. What did I say? Did I just say 50%? I think it's giving me 70% of the satisfaction, and I am happy with that. The flavors are quite on point now with the rice, which some good texture. One of my favorite things about Hainan chicken rice is the chicken flavored rice. So fragrant. Cooking it this way, the texture of the chicken is not going to be as like smooth and tender and juicy. Considering how low effort this was and the amount of satisfaction I'm getting right now, I would give this base recipe an 8 out of 10. Thinking next time I might add a little more chicken fat into the rice, maybe take the chicken out sooner, and it would become a 10. This has 10/10 potential. Ooh, I love this.
So this next one I found from a TikTok account that specializes in rice cooker recipes. It is essentially a brothless curry. All you have to do is toss all these ingredients in and just let it cook. I had to pull my old rice cooker out of retirement for this, so it is a little bit janky. It also doesn't have the fancy settings, so I'm just doing the on-off toggle. And so 15 minutes later, this is kind of what it looks like. I feel like the things weren't really cooking properly yet. There isn't that much liquid. I was a little worried things were gonna burn, so I went ahead and added a little bit of chicken broth. Not too much, just a little bit. And I feel like that kind of did the trick, because the next time I checked it, another 15 minutes later, you see like some nice bubbling action. And I feel like that extra bit of liquid did help to sort of kickstart the process a little bit until I finally get this curry sauce going. This is a lot closer to the finished results in the original video. It is quite a bit of curry though, so I scooped some up to save it for another day and decided to just toss some udon in, mix that straight into the curry, serve it up saucy, piping hot. This just looks delicious.
A little bit of a hiccup with this one at first, but we made it to the end, and now we have this beautiful plate of curry udon. Just wanted to throw some noodles in so I could enjoy this curry in a different way. I'm just gonna try the curry first. It is definitely on the more tomatoey end, which makes sense. We have like 3 whole tomatoes in it. And I feel like the beauty of using ground meat is that it doesn't really matter if you let it cook longer. More of that flavor eventually ends up in the sauce. But the curry root is definitely carrying. You could jazz it up if you want, but you really don't need any other seasoning. There's a lot of flavor in here already. You can see that the sauce clings to the udon perfectly, and this texture of the curry I very much enjoy. I do wonder if I added another tomato, if that would kind of eliminate the issue of it needing a little more liquid in the beginning. As somebody who makes curry a lot at home over the stovetop, I might just start doing this. It can actually be very hands-off, and it keeps your curry warm for whenever you're ready to eat. Ideal. I want to give this a 9 out of 10. High points for, you know, just how easy it is to put together. The 1 point is really just for the original recipe, where I feel like you might need to add some more liquid, but the rewards are so worth it. I love this. This is great.
This one is a 2-ingredient recipe that may have gotten viral again recently, but I've actually been doing this quite a lot at home for a long time because of how easy it is to do and how high reward it is, for me at least. But it really is as simple as you think it is. Just cook your rice the way you normally would in your rice cooker, with a big juicy tomato sitting in the middle. Essentially what we're doing is steaming the tomato at the same time we're cooking the rice. And you can see how juicy this tomato is after sitting in there. So I'm just sort of manually smashing it down until I get these nice little chunks. And there's a good bit of color on the rice. I'm adding just a little bit of salt and sesame oil to taste, but that's all there is. Serve up the rice in a bowl. You can add an egg if you want to. Again, condiments are optional, just trying to make it look pretty. But that's it, tomato rice.
This is one of those meals where when I really don't want to cook and I just want something comforting, this is what I would do. And I know it seems like not much, right? It's just one ingredient that you're adding to the rice, but I feel like there's just something about the natural sweetness of the tomato, the natural umami. It just does wonders. A little bit of tartness. I added salt and sesame oil this time. Sometimes you don't even have to add any type of seasoning. Just like a very light, comforting, easy meal. Sneak some health into your daily meal. I will say though, it is pretty important to adjust the water level that you're putting into the rice. The tomatoes adds a lot of liquid, but if you want like a risotto type of texture, you can switch it up for broth and tomato. Ooh, I can imagine that'd be really good. I feel like personally for me, because this has saved me on so many sick days, I am biased, but it is a little more on the simpler side, maybe not as exciting. We would put it at an 8. A solid 8. Very good.
If you ever wanted to make a giant pancake, this is the recipe for you. I'm just using boxed pancake mix here, going for the ultimate pancake version, but the reasoning is just so I can regulate it better. But you can definitely make your own pancake from scratch. I'm just really curious to know if we can actually make a giant pancake using the most simplest of methods. So I'm just making my pancake batter according to the box instructions. Then I'm just buttering up my rice cooker pot, going with a pastry brush to cover the sides as well because I don't know how big this is going to be. And then the pancake batter goes straight in and into the rice cooker. And this is what it looks like 1.5 hours later. I had to run this on cooking mode twice to make sure it had the right color, the right texture. I am having a little difficulty trying to remove it from the pot though, so we're just gonna pretend we don't see the edges here. But this does look kind of crazy with the butter and the maple syrup on top. It is indulgence.
It is huge. This one took way longer than I thought it was going to. I actually ended up cooking this twice because I feel like after the first run, it was still very soft. And now you get this giant pancake that actually feels a little bit cake-like. But I am very happy with this sort of golden brown. Apologies for these sides here. I was having some difficulty removing it from the rice cooker. Spread this butter around. Ooh, here is our little here's our pancake cake. It smells very good. It feels more like a sponge cake. The center bit is a lot more dense. Maybe because of how much batter there was, it didn't rise properly. I kind of like the outside is a little more fluffy, a little more like a vanilla cupcake. But given how much time that went into this and how kind of fickle it is, I think I would put this at like a 4. Do it for the novelty, but probably not again.
This rice cooker recipe actually went viral a couple years back, and it specifically uses KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. It has to do with how flavorful the batter is, and in order to preserve some more of that flavor, I'm taking off some of the chicken skin that I'm going to crisp up later to add back to the rice. I know you might feel a little skeptical about this one because who wants to eat soggy fried chicken? But we're gonna trust the process here. A little bit of other flavoring going on, the chicken stock, soy sauce, the ketchup, but other than that, it really is just the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Very straightforward one-step process. Everything's just going straight into the rice cooker. And while I'm waiting for the rice to cook, just before it finishes cooking, I'm just snipping up some of that chicken skin so it can really crisp up in my toaster oven. Love my toaster oven, super handy. But also I can imagine pan frying it would also work. Checking on the rice half an hour later, and honestly, this color is looking pretty freaking good. And I'm barely pushing at the chicken here, but the meat is so tender, which is great in this case because it just makes mixing the chicken into the rice so much easier. I'm just topping it off with a little bit of black pepper, and now I'm just going in with all those crispy chicken bits, finishing it off with some scallion, and I am in awe. I can't believe this is KFC.
This one smelled so good when it was cooking. Something about that KFC recipe, 11 herbs and spices, thyme, basil, oregano, celery, salt, black pepper, dried mustard, paprika, garlic salt, ground ginger, white pepper, supposedly. When there's all the seasoning in the batter for the fried chicken, it makes a lot of sense that that flavor is now in here, ideally. At least it's what it's smelling like. The crispy chicken skin bit is not necessary, but like, how could I say no? Extra flavor, extra fun. Ooh, this also just looks so good. This is crazy. It's crazy because I really didn't put that much more sauce in here, but the flavor of the fried chicken itself is really coming through here. Texture is perfect. The chicken kind of is so tender at this point. The chicken skin, such a good move. This is actually so good. You know what this feels like? It's when those people try to do challenges like professional chef makes KFC gourmet, and this genuinely tastes like something somebody could serve at a restaurant. Wow, I was skeptical at first, but I'm a believer now. This one is a 10 out of 10. I was not expecting to give this a 10 out of 10. A 10 out of 10. I'm finishing this whole bowl. Ooh, this is delicious. Oh, that crisp is so nice.
Did you know that we can make pasta in a rice cooker too? Also a first for me, but this is basically a 4-ingredient mac and cheese recipe where we're actually cooking the pasta first without the cheese. So it's just butter, milk, and pasta, and I'm just checking on it sporadically to make sure that it's cooking well, it's not burning. And interestingly enough, this actually took double the time of the package direction. So I think continuously checking on it is pretty important. Once the pasta is cooked, that's when I'm adding my cheese and also just a splash of milk. Give it a good little mix, and honestly, it already kind of looks like mac and cheese at this point. That residual heat really helps kind of bring everything together. That creamy cheese sauce actually came out pretty nice.
Wow, I've actually never made pasta in a rice cooker before. I checked on the pasta I think like 2 to 3 times just to make sure it was actually cooked, and it looks pretty good, feels pretty good. Visually, I have to say the milk and the cheese do look like they curdle a little bit, but hey, if it tastes good, all is forgiven. good al dente. The texture of the pasta is actually really good, but there is some time difference between what it says on the pasta packaging and the actual cook time. Because it's done in an appliance, there is less control, so you know, we can't really reduce the liquid here. Flavor-wise though, it tastes legit. Not bad, all considering. I feel like this was essentially like a one-pot pasta recipe. College me would have thrived if I knew I could do this in a rice cooker. A 7 out of 10. When you're craving for something comforting but indulgent and you don't want to do that much work. Rice cooker mac and cheese.
Similar to how the first recipe we did was a shortcut version of Hainanese chicken rice, this is a shortcut version of Oyakodon, which is chicken and egg over rice, and a dish that many consider to be a type of Japanese soul food. Once again, too, the seasonings that go in here are very similar to the original recipe, just that instead of separating it into different steps, we're kind of just tossing it all together. But not the eggs yet. Once the rice is washed and all, water measured out, I'm just adding all of that marinated chicken and onion right on top and really just pouring the rest of the marinade in there too, because I want to get every bit of flavor in there. Goes straight into the rice cooker and let that cook. In the meantime, I'm also just preparing my eggs, just giving it a light scramble. I kind of like it when there's streaks of yellow and white for this dish. So then once the rice is done, I'm just pouring the egg right on top. It's still on the keep warm function, so I'm just letting that rest for a little bit. And this is kind of what it looks like 15 to 20 minutes later, where you want the egg to remain in this sort of runny condition. Also why it's important to serve it straight away, so I'm just putting that directly into a bowl, a little bit of garnish on top, and here you have shortcut Oyakodon.
Another one-pot rice dish. I've made Oyakodon a couple times before. It isn't exactly done the traditional way, but the idea is to try to satisfy that same craving through a method that is considerably less effort. It smells exactly on point. Also, putting the egg last instead of cooking it, that was pretty important, because then you do get sort of that like runny egg situation, which is what makes Oyakodon so good. I think that, the texture of the chicken is good, but I feel like while the flavor is there, it is a little too subtle. Normally when I make Oyakodon, the chicken also has more time to sort of absorb the flavors of the sauce. In this case, because maybe the seasonings are distributed throughout the rice and the chicken, it kind of gets lost. It is a little bit bland. Something that could be helpful though is maybe just like marinating the chicken ahead of time. I do like the eggs a lot though. Considering all of that, I would give this one a 5 out of 10, as it currently is. Has a lot of potential, it just needs some tweaking.
I'm not gonna lie, this is a bit of a bizarre one. But yes, we're making a dessert with just 3 ingredients: Oreo, milk, and rice. I believe Emmy Made in Japan actually did a version of this before where she put 54 Oreo cookies. Do have a little less rice today, so I'm putting in less Oreos, but it still looks like a mini mountain of Oreos. And that's all there is. It's just going straight into the cooker. I actually ended up soaking this for about half an hour to make sure that the rice will cook properly. Unfortunately though, when I checked on it after the cooking time is over, the rice was not cooked. So I had to go in, add some more milk, help it rehydrate a little bit, and then let it cook again. And this time it worked. The rice was cooked. The Oreo was also cooked. Okay. And now we have this thick, viscous Oreo batter, or Oreo risotto, if you will.
I do not know how to feel about this. The overall look is a little intimidating. That is the word. It is just pure black. I mean, if I try to not mix it too much, so then the rice still has a bit of texture. I also have my water here because I feel like it's going to stick to everything here. The concept of it should work, right? Rice and milk, it's nothing crazy. Like, it's crazy, but it's also not too crazy if you think about it. It's like rice pudding. This texture is just smells like Oreo. It's all over my mouth. It's very fudge-like with little bits of rice inside. Doesn't sound very appealing I apologize. I was expecting rice pudding texture, but I feel like rice pudding is a little less thick. I can see the like cake batter, brownie batter comparison, but I think mine is even thicker. Could be a good Halloween treat, but as a everyday dessert, I think you're better off just eating an Oreo. I have to give this one like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. Okay, I'll give it like points for creativity, but we're gonna pass on this one. So sad because I love Oreo. There it is, all 8 viral rice cooker recipes. Some really great ones today and some interesting ones that I'm not sure we'll be doing ever again. If you have a favorite though, I want to know which one. Let me know in the comments below, or if you have a rice cooker recipe that you know about that you think would be interesting for us to try next time, tell me all about them below too. Maybe we'll do a part 2. As always, if you'd like to see more of these type of videos, remember to like and subscribe, but otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye!